coming up on 7:31. So here's a scenario that many people are familiar with right now. You're vaccinated, but your family member or your friend is not. And that can be frustrating for some, or even just when you're in certain spaces and there are people who aren't vaccinated and that comes up. Like, listen to New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy just yesterday with his outburst.
These folks back there have lost their mind. You've lost your minds. You are the ultimate knuckleheads, and because of what you are saying and standing for, people are losing their life. People are losing their life, and you have to know that. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror.
So a lot of people are reacting and sharing that moment from Governor Murphy. So what about you when it comes to your personal life? How exactly are you supposed to handle your relationships with unvaccinated people? Do you have the conversation with them? Do you just not talk about it? Do you make sure they double mask? Are you afraid to ask them to double mask because you don't want to bring it up and it starts an argument or some type of talk that you don't want to get into? Or do you simply avoid them? Well, Dr. Jamie Zuckerman is a licensed clinical psychologist who's joining us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So this is a situation that a lot of people are dealing with. It's a weird situation to be in, but I guess the first thing is just acknowledge that it is a weird situation.
Yes, absolutely. We have never been through anything like this before. It is a collective trauma, and there is nothing about this that's going to feel comfortable.
And the problem with it, though, is even though it's an uncomfortable thing, it also can affect a lot of people, especially if you have health conditions or you're just concerned about the Delta variant. It's such a serious situation to be in, yet people have different opinions on it.
Sure. Yeah, everybody's going to have their opinions. And this is one of those situations where the opinions are extremely strong. And as I say to everybody, the only thing you really have control over is protecting your health. Mm-hmm. So whatever you need to do to protect your health is what you do.
And that sounds good in theory, doctor, but the problem is when it's your loved one, if it's your really good close friend or just a colleague, it can get awkward. I've heard so many people say, I don't know if I should bring it up. I don't want this to become a thing. So what do you say to someone who feels a little uncomfortable about making that statement like, look, I want to prioritize my health?
Mm-hmm. So if it's somebody who is a friend, a good friend or a relative, most of the time people will be receptive to that. And you know, I like to give people options. People always feel more comfortable when they have options. So something along the lines of, I'm not comfortable in this situation. Do you mind getting tested? If they're not willing to get tested and you feel comfortable going to the next level, do you feel comfortable, you know, will you wear a mask? If they say no to that, you simply say, you know, I'm just not comfortable with this. And I always throw in, I'm sure you can understand.
So because that's the I don't phrase.
Think, yeah, I don't think in this, yeah, because in this situation, most people aren't, you're not giving them even the option to say, no, I don't understand, because everybody understands right now.
Okay. Well, the problem is some people feel that anti-vaxxers don't understand, and that's why they're anti-vaccine, but that's a whole nother thing. Let's go into different scenarios to help folks out. It's the summer. We're still trying to soak up the last bit of the summer. A lot of people are going on trips. So what if you're going on a big family trip and you have an unvaccinated relative? What's your recommendation for handling that?
So if you're going on a trip and you're meeting family and somebody is not vaccinated, you have every right to tell them you're not comfortable. In these situations, transparency is best. Tell them you're not comfortable. Give them those options that, you know, would they be willing to get tested? Would they be willing to wear a mask? And if the answer is no, you always have the right to not go. You always have the right to go somewhere else. But again, at the end of the day, it's your body, you're in control, and you make the rules for your body.
And I like that you also said to explain that you'll be in close quarters so they understand, look, we're going to be right next to each other.
That's right.
The second one, we're getting a lot of weddings now because weddings are back on.
Yeah.
Let's say if you're throwing the wedding and you really are concerned about your guests and how that's going to go over, how do you say, hey, if you're coming, we'd like you to be vaccinated?
Mm-hmm. So this is one of those situations where when it's your wedding, regardless of the pandemic, when it's your wedding, you call the shots. When it's your wedding, you invite who you want. And I think this is one of those situations where you have a lot of leeway to tell your guests, if you're not vaccinated, we just don't feel comfortable. There'll be a lot of people in close quarters. I'm sure you can understand.
Okay. What about as school gets started? I've heard that some people, whether it's at the daycare, whether it's at the school, they would prefer that the teachers, since they'll be dealing with their children for hours on end,
Sure.
that they are vaccinated. What would you say to a parent or someone who would like to ask or figure out if their teacher is vaccinated or not?
Sure. So I think in these situations, when it comes to school, it's not just the student in the classroom, it's the student's family. Maybe someone in the family has an underlying condition or elderly. And because of privacy and because it is not currently a mandated vaccine, the best bet would be to not necessarily go to the teacher, but go to the head of the school, go to the principal, express your concerns, because you're definitely not going to be the only one.
Okay. Kids' birthday parties. What if you're the
Yes,
parent throwing it and you're inviting all the other little kids to
yes.
come over?
So I just had this experience myself for my daughter. We had the party outside, and I sent an invitation to everybody that we are vaccinated and that it will be outside. If they are not comfortable, they're more than welcome to wear a mask. I then sent out a second message saying it's supposed to rain. If it rains, we will be inside. Everyone is required to wear masks. And if you're not comfortable, I understand, and we'll schedule another time.
Schedule another time.
Mhm.
Just to make this fair, because there are some people who do feel strongly about not getting the vaccine or they're concerned about it. Can they use the same language then? Hey, I'm just not comfortable getting it. Or what do you recommend for someone who has not had the vaccine and, someone brings it up? Because not everyone even wants to answer that question, too. That's
Sure.
also, some people feel personal about that.
Sure. It's an excellent question. I think that, yeah, the same applies. If somebody does not feel comfortable getting the vaccine, or for any reason doesn't want to get the vaccine, they can absolutely say, I'm fearful of X, Y, and Z. I'm sure you can understand. Listen, as you said, not everybody is going to understand one way or the other, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a line that you can use to kind of, in the moment, put up that buffer without it being an argument.
Okay. And it sounds like if you put how you feel first, then that doesn't really leave a lot of space for people to hey, I'm not comfortable, or, this is how I'm feeling. And just assume, hey, I hope you understand. Like when you ask someone to do something, thanks for your help, even though they haven't agreed to help yet.
Exactly. You're not asking them to agree with you. You're just asking them to kind of hold space and hear you.
Hold space and hear you. So this certainly will be more conversations that people were having as we move on. So thank you for helping us navigate
Thank you for
this
having
space.
me.
Thank you, Dr. Zuckerman.
Thank you.
7:38.